Your salary says $66,000. Here's what it actually comes out to once you count the hours, the debt, and the years. Add up the early mornings, the grading at 10 p.m., the lesson planning on Sunday. You're not working 1,500 hours a year. You're working closer to 2,400. Do that math, and your real hourly rate is closer to $27.50. Now add in the student debt. For some of you, that's $60,000. For others, up to $120,000. Either way, the number on your salary statement isn't the number you're actually living on. I'm not telling you this to make you angry. I'm telling you because I've spent my career as a financial advisor working with teachers, and almost none of you have ever seen these numbers laid out in one place. You can't make a good decision about money you haven't looked at honestly. So, let's look at it. Then let's talk about what you actually do with it. Start with the baseline. The average teacher in the U.S. makes $66,000 a year. The average education degree costs somewhere between $35,000 and $100,000, depending on the school. Public university, you're probably carrying around $60,000 in loans at graduation. Private school, $120,000 isn't unusual. Federal student loans average about 5.5% interest. On a standard 10-year repayment plan, $60,000 in principal turns into roughly $78,000 once interest is added. That's not a one-time cost. That's a second mortgage you took out before your first paycheck. Here's the part most teachers don't calculate until they're 5 years in: what a full career actually nets you. Over 30 years, a teacher earns roughly $2.1 million gross. Sounds like a lot, until you subtract what actually leaves your hands before you ever spend a dollar of it. 4 things eat into that $2.1 million before you ever see a dollar of it. Taxes, federal, state, payroll, take about 25%. That's $525,000 gone. Health insurance averages $8,000 a year. Over 30 years, that's $240,000. Out-of-pocket classroom supplies average around $40,000 over a career. Money most teachers never get reimbursed for. And the loan interest, that's another $78,000 in total payments on the original $60,000 you borrowed. Add those 4 numbers together. $883,000. That leaves $1.217 million to actually live on over 30 years. Divide that by 30, and you're left with about $40,500 a year for rent, food, your own family's needs, everything else. That's the real number behind the $66,000. I want you to know what it is. Now let's talk about what to do with it. If you're watching this and you're early in your career, say, within your first 5 years of teaching, you have more flexibility than you think and less time to use it than you'd like. This is the window where switching paths cost you the least. You haven't vested in a pension yet in most states. You haven't built 10 years of identity around being a teacher instead of someone who's good at teaching and could apply those skills elsewhere. Instructional design, curriculum consulting, corporate training. Those fields often pay 20 to 30% more for the same underlying skill set. That doesn't mean you should leave. Plenty of people in year 3 love this job and are right to stay. But if you're unhappy and you've been telling yourself, I can't leave, I have the summers, I have the stability, I want you to actually run the numbers before you accept that story. A pension you haven't vested in yet isn't a reason to stay. It's a future benefit you're choosing to start building. And I want to be precise here because teacher pension isn't one thing. Some states, Ohio is a good example, have pension systems that are genuinely strong if you put in a full career. Others are weaker, with lower benefit multipliers or longer vesting periods. And here's a piece of good news that a lot of teachers still don't know. The old rule that used to cut into a teacher's Social Security benefit if they also had a pension, the windfall elimination provision, was repealed in 2025. If you spent years assuming your Social Security would be reduced because of your pension, that's no longer true, and it's worth checking your actual benefit estimate again because it may be higher than you think. If you don't know which kind of pension system you're in, or whether this repeal affects you, that's research you can do in 20 minutes on your state retirement system's website and at ssa.gov, and it should come before any decision about staying or leaving. If you're past 5 years, the math changes, and it should. You may be vested or close to it. Walking away now means leaving real accumulated value on the table, not just a hypothetical. At that point, the better question usually isn't, should I quit teaching? It's, how do I optimize the package I already have? That means actually understanding your pension's formula, not just assuming it'll be fine. It means maximizing your 403B or 457B contributions if your district offers a match, and checking what fees you're paying on those plans, because many district-sponsored 403Bs carry high expense ratios that quietly eat your returns for decades. It means knowing whether you qualify for public service loan forgiveness, because many teachers carrying federal loans are eligible and don't know it, or don't know the paperwork has to be filed correctly every single year to count. Let me put a real number on that fee point, because it's the one teachers underestimate the most. A lot of 403B annuity products sold to teachers carry expense ratios of 1.5% to 2% a year. A low-cost index fund runs closer to 0.05% to 0.10%. On a $200,000 balance over 20 years, that difference in fees alone can cost you well over $50,000 in lost growth. Money that never shows up as a fee on a statement. It just quietly doesn't compound. You're not being charged a bill. You're being charged in growth you never see, which is exactly why most people never notice it happening. On the PSLF side, here's what actually trips people up right now. It's not that teachers don't qualify. Most public school teachers do. It's that the loan repayment landscape just shifted under everyone's feet. The SAVE plan, which a lot of teachers were on, was shut down by a court ruling in 2026, and time spent in that plan's forbearance doesn't count toward PSLF. If you were on SAVE and haven't switched, you need to move to a qualifying income-driven plan, since that time doesn't count toward PSLF otherwise. We've got a full video coming on exactly how to navigate this, so keep an eye out for that. So, here's where I want you to start, regardless of how many years you've taught. 1. Pull your loan servicer's account and find your actual interest rate and balance, not your memory of it, the real number. 2. Find out if your job qualifies for PSLF and confirm you're currently on an eligible income-driven repayment plan like IBR, not the now-defunct SAVE plan and not a standard repayment plan, because that's required to get credit. 3. Look up your state's pension vesting schedule and find out exactly how many years until you're vested, not just a while. 4. Check the expense ratios on your 403B or 457B investments. If you don't know how to find this, your plan administrator has to tell you if you ask. And if Step 3 feels like a lot to dig through, that's exactly why we built the Teacher Pension Calculator. It does the lookup for you for any state in a couple minutes. None of these take more than an afternoon. All 4 of them are decisions you can only make well once you've actually looked at the numbers instead of guessing. You didn't sign up to be underpaid. You signed up to teach, and the compensation didn't catch up to that. That's a real problem, and it's one you can navigate, but only with the actual numbers in front of you, not the feeling that something's off. None of what I just walked through requires you to leave the classroom, distrust your district, or feel hopeless about the math. It requires 20 minutes with your loan servicer, 20 minutes with your state pension system, and a hard look at one statement you've probably never read closely. That's it. That's the whole first step. That's what we're here for, because no one teaches teachers about money. If you want the next one on your feed, hit subscribe. We've got more of these coming.